Welcome back, gentlemen, to episode 2 of our preseason for race fans unfiltered or unfiltered race fans only, whatever our podcast is. I just came back from a long weekend to help my son-in-law move because he's getting deployed, so my brain is still kind of scattered. But we agreed we were going to talk about our predictions for how the schedule is going to play out under the new format, who we think our race winners will be, and who we think at an early level this should benefit, and we'll line up to make the top 16. But first, obviously, there's some different news out there. Weather has severely fucked up the Clash happening when it's supposed to, so it's going to happen 3 days before the Super Bowl. Oh, and there's our first fuck. So, second, so,
Uh,
where's your bell, Blake? We
oh
call
my
you
God,
Blake Bell Browning, Triple B. So, that was unexpected, but not unexpected with all the Snowmageddon news that we've had. This was bound to happen with where it's at some point. But and then the other big track news is that, yay, we're not going to be doing the Roval anymore. Marcus felt the peer pressure or whatever the justification was, but we're going to be in the fall when we get into the chase. The return to the chase comes with a return to the oval, and that's been asked for. And I think with the elimination of cut races and so forth, this opened that door for them to make that change, because now it's just another race in a sequence of 10. It's equally as important, but it drops maybe the game 7 chaos that Marcus had intended it for. So he's got to come up with a new use for it. Maybe it'll get moved somewhere else in the schedule later, in future revelations. So let's talk about that first, and then we'll get into season predictions. Thoughts on uh, how the Clash is going to work on a Wednesday night for us leading into the Super Bowl, and then we're going back to the Roval, from the Roval to the Oval. So, who wants to go first?
uh, I'm personally glad that if they're doing
You're
it
losing.
on Wednesday, that it's actually on a day where I can watch it. But it's going to be earlier today anyway. But I'm off the next day, so I was kind of happy about that. Um, it's no never mind to me. I really don't like Bowman Gray as much as some others. Um, I it's niche. It doesn't show any of what the season's going to hold. So just like last year, I just don't really care for it. But um, maybe with the horsepower, it might be fun to do it Wednesday night. But um, I wasn't too excited over it to begin with, so it doesn't really bother me too much. As far as the Roval leaving, I'm ecstatic. Um, it's one less race for SVG to win,
Yeah.
and it's it's better. The Oval's just better racing. It probably puts on the second best racing in the entire series, right after Kansas. So I
Yeah,
don't.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say it's a toss up between Kansas and Charlotte. Those are probably the two best. I mean, Vegas has been pretty decent, but overall show, those two have been the best the entire time. So getting the Roval back is freaking awesome.
Okay. Now, while I agree with you, Blake, that I think the weather is the only determining factor here now for the Clash. Last year's Clash, I was pretty much accurate in my general expectations based on how that worked out. The people who ran well there at the opening of the year for those sharp, tight corners ran well at Martinsville, New Hampshire, and North Wilkesboro specifically. And that ultimately benefited Byron, Chase Elliott, Larson, Bell, and some others, and Blaney. And you saw that in those results. And so I think the fact that if we weren't going to have the Snowmageddon mess up of the track temperatures and everything, I think it would give us a really good read on what we can expect with those, especially now that we're going into a more traditional point standing. Because those folks, when you go look at where they finished in the top 10, in those races throughout last season, they were all in the top 5 to top 7, each one of those races. So I'm actually sad that the snow has impacted it, because I think it's going to take away from our ability to get a better gauge on how the short track package with the new horsepower is going to play out at those events. If it had been a little warmer like it was last year, I think you get a little bit better read on that, especially for the early races at some of these places.
We'll just have to wait for Phoenix, Alan.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that. Who's going to win that one as usual? And yeah, with the return from the Roval to the Oval, I'm excited for a bunch of different reasons. Because we've seen year after year, the Roval has introduced some replay worthy moments. Ever since the first race, whether it's Larson going to barrier, coming back to win, Chase, going back, Johnson spinning and hitting Truex, and Blaney coming through for the win, and we've had all the race manipulation incidents there over the last few years. But we've also seen what I would say is not your traditional racing that you would see at a road course either, because everybody's got so many different agendas because of it being a cutoff race. We never saw, honestly, what it could do as a regular road course without that. So I'm not opposed to putting it somewhere else in the schedule now that it's not a cutoff race, because even though Charlotte shouldn't be a road course race, at least if you're going to see the true measure of it as a road course race event, minus, how SVG would do at it, besides his first, run through it where he won. If you took that away and you put it where it's worth the same amount of points as every other race, I think you get a much different style of racing there. And you don't get necessarily the levels of manipulation and the chaotics of knocking bumpers off and trying to hit decals off walls and some of those desperation moves we saw in past instances. So anything else you guys want to say about either one of those, other than the last thing I'll say is that I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was Eric Jones, said that he did feel a difference at one of the latest tests with the newer horsepower and tire combination. Like they're starting to feel the difference, maybe with some of those minor tweaks they're changing to short track tire tests compared to their initial pass. Were saying they didn't feel much difference. So maybe we'll see, some gain and benefit there.
He said he actually had some tire slip or something, right?
And we got some rear slip. So that's good. The more of that, the better.
Yep. For sure. I don't have anything else. Do you, Chris?
No, not really.
Okay. So then we talked about the season opening form, in our premiere episode last week about how the season points format was unveiled, and now we're going back to a 26 and 10. Back to the chase with some increased points, bonuses, things like that. So the restrictions on the extra point for fastest lap, etc. So with that, do you want to talk about race by race, or do you want to look at it from, first off, who do you think makes your championship 16?
I've got a race by race list. So
okay, well then let's walk through the schedule. I'm good with that. You good with that, Chris?
Yeah.
All right, let's work our way through. We'll just stick to the regular races, not the duels and the all-star, since they don't grant you any points anymore, because there's no more playoff points, so it doesn't matter if you win a duel or not. And last I knew, they didn't change it where those were worth anything under the new format. They're just exhibition events again and qualifying events, so that's good. So let's start with Daytona, our season opener right after the Super Bowl. Again, winning your in is not the thing. You need to finish well. So who do you think's gonna
oh my God,
be our winner? I'm gonna go with Brad K. I think he finally gets another win in his own car. And he was that close last year at the season finale and had a couple other opportunities. So I think Brad's gonna put the 6 back in victory lane.
it's a good choice. It's a good choice. I was laughing just now because I just realized I wrote Ryan Newman and not Ryan Blaney.
Well, I mean, he could come out of retirement. There's still a week left.
But I feel like Ryan has been insanely close numerous times, especially the time that Ryan Newman nearly won. And Denny swooped in and took the win. But Blaney's been so close. I felt like it's just his time. And
Yeah,
he'll go on
robbed
with
him a couple years ago, and he was close then.
Yep, I think there's going to be a trend this year with a few drivers being dominant headliners.
Same. What about you, Chris?
I think honestly, I kind of went the opposite of where Blake went with that. My big concern is just listening to his interviews as of late, which there hasn't been a whole lot, but listening to his interviews as of late, he's either going to come out swinging or he's just going to be part of the field. So I have Hamlin actually coming in and winning the 500, but if he doesn't, I almost think that if he doesn't come out swinging and have a legitimate potential shot at winning the 500, I just think he's almost going to be a field filler this year.
Okay.
I think that it's going to come down to Daytona for me to make that decision on to actually see where Denny's headspace is at.
I thought about that, but I don't think you can really see that until we get back to Phoenix. You see how he runs at
So-
Phoenix, that will tell you whether he's in the right headspace or not.
So for me,
Well, you'll be.
I thought about
I'll-
like to your point about Denny and coming out swinging, but even if Denny comes out swinging, my concern is the Toyotas haven't been that strong at the drafting tracks in general. More so Talladega and Daytona. So I have a hard time, even though unless something changes and the temperature's right, I just don't see the Toyotas playing as much a factor as usual. I still think it's Ford's game, with the wild card being how the new Chevy nose pairs in drafting, because it's more rounded, it's more lower. But I'm not willing to. I didn't want to bet on a Chevy because of the aerodynamic changes, and it's entirely untested what's going to happen for them. So if they're going to have success, it's either going to be they will have lucked out and hit on something over the winter with this new development and aero modifications, or they're going to be out to lunch until mid-season when it comes to their drafting. So, but go ahead.
Chris.
We're in Atlanta now, so
Yeah, you were trying to say something.
Sorry, yeah, you locked up for a second. But I just want to make sure we didn't miss you. So you're thinking
no.
So if Hamlin doesn't come out of the gate swinging, who's your backup there?
My backup there, I'd go the same place you did, and that's exactly where I went last year with it too. I had Keselowski last year. I think Keselowski is almost going to be another one like Earnhardt. It would almost be disappointing to see him not just with how well he has always run. I mean,
yep.
Look at what he did even at Talladega to win his first race in 2009.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand.
Sorry, he's got the best drafting spotter in the field, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, having TJ having TJ back now, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, to me, the sentimental too, based off how long they've been running it and been successful at it, to me, are definitely Brad or Kyle. Either Kyle Busch getting it. He rightfully was the race leader at lap 500 before that overtime 2 years ago, or 3 now. To see him win the 500 because he's got every crown jewel otherwise, and Brad's the same way. Brad's got every crown jewel otherwise, whether it's the Bristol night race, Indy, Southern 500, like they both have all those. They're both champions. So I think it would be amazing to see either one of them come out. My money's on Brad just because of where they were ending last year.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I feel bad he got that big penalty at the end of the year, because I think if he'd have been in a little better position, I think they threw some stuff away once the chase started last year.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that was just because they weren't in the chase, so they were just seeing what would stick. They were throwing it, throwing it in the wall to see what would stick.
It was their first year, right? Unless I'm misremembering, but that was their first year as a full-time 3-car team. If I remember correctly, that was, where Priest was full-time. So there was a lot of things from the year before where Brad and Buescher both won. Buescher won several times, and they contended for, different levels within the playoffs. So I do think now that they've gotten through a year as a full 3-car team and bringing, Roush Racing, RFK Racing back to a more stabilized environment as a 3-car team full time, I'm expecting that performance. It does seem like they straightened a lot of stuff out last year, so I'm expecting that performance to pick up.
The last dual thing that would be amazing if that were to happen is the 60 and the
17.
17 all have the Biffle numbers on the side of them for Daytona,
Yes, any one of those
as
three
well
would
as the
be a great
99.
thing. Yep.
as well as the 99. So if any of those cars wins, with not only that, but with the fact that Mark Martin was a part of making this chase come to life,
Yeah.
that would be
And
just a kind of
and
full circle.
Allmendinger's 16 will be adorned with a Biffle 16 for his 16 for the Celsius.
Yep.
So that'll also be any one of those would work for me just for several sentimental reasons.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to Atlanta. Atlanta's been
Echo Park. Echo Park.
Call it whatever you want. Shit show park.
Atlanta works.
It's been a truer representation of old Daytona as of late as it's continued to age. Temperature is obviously going to play a big factor where the fall, summer race tends to play a big factor because of the heat. I don't know how much handling we're going to have at this one with how cold it's been this year already. And it's going to come right after it, especially if we keep getting these, snowstorms towards the south, all the way down deep into, southern Florida. That it's going to be a fast race. If it doesn't get snowed out, it's going to be extremely fast with how cold the track will be. So for me, I picked Logano because he has been money at this track. As long as he doesn't get taken out, he really, he knows what to do, and he's always been a great drafting racer at every track, and he's won here several times now. I just think if they're coming out of the gate strong, that's where we're going to see it. Him and Paul will have to have realigned their strategy, knowing that consistency, not a chaotic one-off shot, is going to get you in. I think this is where you're going to see where Joey's opening salvo is more so than Daytona, because it's more in the driver's hands here than just Arrow. Who wants to go next?
Go ahead,
Chris. Go ahead, Blake.
Go ahead, Chris.
I have basically the same thought process you did. I got Logano on Atlanta just for the simple fact of, I think that I really don't think him and Paul Wolf are going to mess around. I know that it showed in the last few years that the speed hasn't necessarily been there for them throughout the entire year. But but me and Blake kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. I just don't see. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like Logano, but on the same hand, somebody like Paul Wolf to have Logano in the seat, I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, Paul Wolf knows how to put a full season together because we watched him do it with Brad, and he hasn't forgot how to do that.
Well, my choice was your all's Daytona choice, Brad Keselowski.
Okay.
He's had a couple ripped out of his hands there, and it's time.
All right.
So, easy peasy on that one.
All right, and then we move to our first road course of the season. Thankfully, there is one less when we get toward the end of the year, but our first one at COTA, I went with SVG because so far he's 5-0 for the last 5 road races. So I see no reason to think now when he goes back, I think they got lucky that he had a bad car the first go around there earlier last year. Because they figured everything else out after, and he was no less than 20 seconds above everybody. They couldn't even sniff his tailpipes anywhere else. So my money's on SVG until somebody shows me that he can be beat, or other than beating himself.
I have a first-time winner,
Connor Zillage.
Ty Gibbs.
Oh, okay, all right.
I feel like the added horsepower. He was close last year. He was close the year before that.
Yeah.
At that racetrack, he was very good at Mexico. I don't know. I just had this feeling. I had the feeling for him last year, and I was very close to getting in at Bristol in the fall. So I've got the same feeling for Coda, so that's why I picked him. I think Ty Gibbs will empty the SVG apple cart, and he'll put him his first trophy on the mantle.
Okay. What about you, Chris?
I'm I mean, I don't think Ty Gibbs is a bad choice, but I don't know. I just don't. He's fast enough. I think if SVG falls out, yes, it'll be hard to keep Ty Gibbs out of victory lane. But it is going to take SVG breaking, and I'll just say it right now, I have him on all 4 road courses.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I went the same way.
Without him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I think even with Connor Zillits coming in, I think we saw a little bit of the potential that might be Connor Zillits, but once he gets up to the front of that field, I don't think he's going to be as dominant as everybody thinks he's going to be. He's not going to come in, and especially in this car, which closely resembles a V8 supercar, which SVG ran for years.
Yeah.
I can see, I mean, those two went toe to toe in the Xfinity series last year, but I don't see him going toe to toe. If Zillits can make it to the front of the field, I just don't see them going toe to toe for the end of one of these road courses.
I don't see him doing it this year. I'm not saying he couldn't win it, but because he did do some Trans Am stuff among other things. So I think they've talked about how the Trans Am or the the GT type style cars are also similar in nature to this platform we're on right now, but we've got more horsepower at these tracks. So the one thing I'll say that may benefit the rest of the field over SVG, and maybe not, maybe it'll give him even more of an advantage. But by having more horsepower, you're going to have an opportunity to burn the tires up even more. So maybe SVG will overuse that and burn his tires up where before he couldn't really, because there wasn't enough rear power to spin them as much. So he may find that he's not as good at managing his tires as he was prior, or it may give him an even bigger advantage, which would be truly scary for the rest of the field if that happens. But
I was almost thinking it was going to give him a bigger advantage because they have a lot smaller tire on the V8 supercars.
Yeah. Before we get too far into this thing, I will say, so since you're the first driver to pick well, no, you're not the first. You both now picked a Toyota driver in the first 3 races.
Yes.
My only concern with picking somebody within JGR is they lost Chris Gabehart, and he was the mastermind in helping. We don't even know where he went. The rumor is Spire, but it still hasn't been announced where he's gone. And I'm not expecting them to fall off a cliff immediately, but they haven't even announced how they're structuring internally to replace that knowledge, because they took, he was on Hamlin's car, then he went over there and you saw a rise of all of JGR last year, and now you're cherry picking the guy from the competition and that centrally organized all that. I think JGR is either going to continue to perform depending on who they've moved into place, or they're going to fall back very quickly depending on what happens. Yeah, it'll implode and have to do some soul searching. That's just like an outside factor that I've been curious, and obviously we won't know till the season gets about halfway through how that really played an impact, because you got to have time for the impact to be felt beyond 1 or 2 races. But that's not a minimal piece that they lost. That's a big piece within the congealing of information between teams and steering the ship on how the cars are prepped week to week, and information is shared. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I actually forgot about that one. I
would say any responses to that before we keep going.
Yeah. I forgot about that, honestly, about Gabehart leaving. And my big thing there is I wonder if the thought process has ever come across anywhere at JGR other than he is a namesake. There was a reason why they were in that position with Gabehart to begin with.
Yeah.
Did you get rid of the wrong person?
Yep. Did you shelve the wrong guy? Because this is going to be year 4. Usually it takes 3 years in this car for somebody to start performing and winning. We saw it, and prior to this car, but we've seen that just the jump to Cup. Chase was successful at Nationwide / Xfinity. Took him 3 years to score a first win. Same thing for some of the others recently. Well, this is year 4 for Ty Gibbs. Like I do think internally he's running out of rope with the rest of the team within JGR as a whole of how long are we going to let him struggle and talk to our people this way at the same time. Some of the way he treated his teammates, both at the lower level when he dumped Eric Jones, or not Eric Jones, Brandon Jones, and then on top of it, how he's treated teammates. We saw how that unfolded with some of the contact last year in some of the races, and how that impacted positions within the playoffs and all those things. So it's going to be a big year for
and just what he said about Gabehart. For Gabehart to
is a guy who
not Gabehart, Chris Gale.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Chris Gale. What he said about
Hamlin.
Chris Gale.
Yep. 6 races with Hamlin. The first year. Geeky gets Gabehart, who put Hamlin in the final 4 and final 8 several times and won a bunch of races with him. And also, so it's going to be a critical year for them. So, all right, moving on. Phoenix won. So now we're out of, we're back. We're at the start of our, I'll say, more traditional tracks for the rest of the season. The more nuanced balance. We're back to regular ovals. So our first Phoenix race, even though Penske is dominant in the fall, it's been JGR who's been dominant in the spring for the most part there. I was torn between my selection here, but I'm going to go with Chase Briscoe. Again, that's my first Toyota pick, and I'm hesitant on that for the same reasons I've just discussed for y'all, but we're going to find out what they did over the offseason with losing Chris Gabehart and that knowledge core. But I'm going to say Chase Briscoe is strong there. What say you, gentlemen?
Go ahead, Chris.
I looked at what you talked about with Gibbs being dominant at that track at the beginning of the season, but I think Blaney's momentum is going to carry over.
Okay.
Cool. I am sort of on the same path, but I'm talking about the whole race, not just the last 2 laps when he had 2 tires better and whatever. But William Byron is who I'm picking. He had a outstanding car. He was the only car that could keep up with Hamlin last fall. I would have picked Hamlin, but I just don't think he's going to be in it this year. I think he's going to have 1 or 2 wins and just kind of, run his 2 years and be gone. But, I've been wrong many times before. But I think because of that, I'm a little hesitant because of the horsepower change. But regardless of that, I'm going to go with Byron on that.
Okay. I mean, he's won there before with this car, and he runs well there. Some bad luck there last year, some bad calls, and what I would say is just, he apologized to Hamlin for, allowing his headspace in the moment to dictate the right decision to get his ass off track, knowing he had his tire going down, and then it came apart and changed the total outcome of the championship based on that format. So I could definitely see Byron getting one there. All right, now we're to the bread and butter of this car, our first 1.5 miles. My Vegas pick was the guy who, for the majority of the time, has ruled Vegas, and that's the guy who just got his 2nd Cup championship as a Phoenix, and that was Larson. Larson gets his first win of the season here, and it's going to be the first of many, because I think it's going to be similar. If he doesn't win the championship, it's going to look damn similar to year 2021. He's going to be really hard to stop, and it starts right there.
I picked him as well. Pretty simple pick. He's very strong there. I don't think he hasn't been strong there once since he started driving for HMS, and really if you go back to Ganassi days, he was top 3 every time he ran there, with the exception of his rookie year. He was just fast all the time. Every time they went there, he was fast. So that's just his track. Everybody says Homestead is, but
I was going to say that. I know everybody likes to say Homestead is Kyle Larson's best track. I would argue Vegas is his best track based on numbers. Because he's always been crash and burn at Homestead. He's fast, but he either pounds the fucking wall and kills the car, or he's right there competing for the win, and there's usually no in between. Where Vegas, unless somebody takes him out, or they have some really bad luck.
It's not much different. Literally,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Other than he hasn't had as much bad luck at Vegas, I'll say that. You know.
Well, we also don't run fucking Homestead twice a year either.
Right. So,
but I got Vegas as well, and I will honestly say I will put down Larson every single time at Vegas, because the only thing that we're sitting and watching is how he can get fucking robbed of the win anymore. I mean, that's all it boils down to, is what's going to happen at the end of the race to take the fucking win away from him. That's what happens every single time.
Yep. And you know, another thing, we talked about it last week with the changes, but when we get to these races and race management, and now, you know, when I think all the mile and a halves are going to be decided by your top 7 teams. I don't think anybody outside of top 7 total point performance team, and I'm not talking from the playoffs, but just a top 7 team that's a well-oiled machine. Only one of those 7 cars is going to win these mile and a halves going forward, because you're not going to have the same emphasis on stage point strategy now with that 15 bonus points hanging out for every win. You can't afford to not be there at the end and do the stage flip and possibly lose out on the win and give up 15 points. Not if you want to be the regular season champion and get that elusive 25-point head start and a 100-point head start over last, but just the ground it gives you and the certainty it gives you to make in the top 16. So I think your top 7 guys are going to be your only winners at mile and a halfs going forward, and that's going to be, you know, I think we all probably agree on who those 7 are. I won't say them yet because we're going to cover all these others, but Larson's right there, you know, 1A, 1B for who those top 7 guys are at the mile and a halfs. So, all right, moving on. We're again a traditional track, Darlington.
But this is 750, not 670.
Yep. Nope, you're right. It's 750. It's not 670. I went with Chase Briscoe for this, not because I don't believe Larson can and will win there, but because he seems to be just snake bit for the spring race, and he's lightning on the fall race.
Well, here's the thing. There's no throwback weekend, so maybe he won't wreck now.
That's true. You know what? Maybe the throwback jinx will go away, and he'll be right there for it.
When you did this bar, dude, did you fucking set up surveillance cameras in my house too?
Yeah, you know, I'm in the intelligence business, man. It's my job to steal your intelligence and make it my own.
Well, can you spread some intelligence to Blake?
Look, I'm a giver. I give to the earth. So
my pick for there is Larson because of the horsepower change. When they ran the higher horsepower when he was in the 42, I mean, hardly anybody. I mean, he didn't win in the 42 there, but I mean,
he should have. And that
he should have.
that door panel you have behind you. He should have won.
Yeah. So I mean, with the higher horsepower and you know, just how good he is on long runs, even with how good Briscoe has been there the last 2 falls, I don't see anybody beating him in either race this year. But you know, that's just my opinion.
All right. So we're going with Chase Briscoe, you and me, Chris, for this one.
Yeah, I had a reverse of what Blake had. I've got Briscoe this time around, and then Larson in the fall.
Same.
Just because I think Larson is going to be, like you said earlier, I think Larson's going to be the one that they're all going to have to beat, especially late in the season.
Yeah. So we move to our first Martinsville race. It's the spring. Typically, Hendrick is lights out there, but sentimentally, I'm looking at, you know, NASCAR always delivers storylines. To me, this is where Denny Hamlin gets his first win of the year, or it's bust, because he's been money at Martinsville. He's won there recently. He's been good. Now we're going to have a horsepower change, so that may or may not benefit him. If it does for tire wear, I think that benefits him even more.
Oh yeah.
But I think with everything he went through last year, then winning the lawsuit, coming out and getting through, I think, like you said, it's a coin toss as to how he comes out of the gate to start the season. This most recent interview doesn't give me a lot of hope for early in the year. I think it's going to take him a couple races to get his head screwed on straight. So I'm picking young Dennis Hamlin here, old man Dennis Hamlin with that gray and white beard he's got, to get his first win of the season at Martinsville. What say you, gentlemen?
I've got a first time winner.
Okay.
I've got Ryan Preece.
Okay.
He was very strong in the fall. I feel like if they just had just a smidge better track position and a better plan, they would have won that race. They were the fastest car on the track on that long run. They just was too far back to show it.
Yeah, their strategy in the fall really cost them a win, I think.
Yeah, I think he's going to finally get him his first win, and it'll be at the Spring Martinsville race.
All right. What about you, Chris?
I got, unfortunately, as much as I don't want to say it, I got Byron.
I mean, that's not a bad pick. I mean, he's been money in the spring. He's been money there.
Yeah, and that's the only reason why is, I mean, I as sad as it is to say, I'd rather see Hamlin win than Byron.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went with Byron on that one.
And it's hard not to. I mean, the 24 has been money at Martinsville from the prior.
I mean, Hendrick.
So,
I mean, just it's hard to go against. Yeah, Hendrick
yeah.
in general, just it's impossible to go against any of them, honestly.
Yeah.
So,
and then we go to an Easter weekend.
Yep. All right. When we come back from a break there, we are at Bristol in the spring, and we have more horsepower again. And we still have a softer tire. But based off of our most recent Bristol performances, I think this is Larson's second win of the year right here. I think he's going to spank him again. Just a feeling.
I don't agree there.
No? Okay.
Because of the tire wear crap from last fall. I mean, it's a crapshoot, really. I've got Hamlin winning his first race here because of tire wear. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Hamlin. And I think he gets out of the car and says,
I beat your favorite driver.
I beat your favorite driver for my dad.
Okay.
Dad's not around to tell him not to say it anymore. So
true. It's true. What about you there, Chris?
For me, unfortunately, even with the even with the up in the horsepower and still the uncertainty of what we're going to have ever when it comes to the tires here.
Yeah.
I actually went Gibbs. Much as I don't want to say it, the kid's been fucking strong there.
I mean, he the first year when the tire was chaotic, he was the fastest car there, couldn't keep the tires on it. Then he was fast, but just not the right strategy. So I mean, I definitely can see how you get there. I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, as much as like to see Larson go out and repeat the anywhere from 10 to 12 wins in a complete season, I think unfortunately Gibbs may pull it out at some point this year.
Okay. All right. Now we go back to another high-speed oval in Kansas. And much like Vegas, where Larson's been fast, his dirt brother there, Christopher Bell, is also equally fast. And I have Christopher Bell winning his first race of the year right there.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm interested to see. I put this one down just for the simple fact that if he can't necessarily pull it out at this track, I think it may be because of how the horsepower difference at the short tracks gets to him because he runs so much off of emotion. But I actually have Bubba at Kansas.
Okay.
That's who I have, mother.
Now who's spying on who? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I agree, Chris. He got one stolen from him from his boss in the fall.
Yep.
He's, with the exception of one race, since he's been in 23, he's been very good there. He won in the 45. He's good there. So I wanted to pick Larson. My heart said pick Larson, but I feel like Bubba has a really high shot to win there.
Okay.
Yep.
And that ends our oval stint right there of regular ovals, and we realign and we're back to a drafting track, this time at the biggest and baddest at Talladega. And while it's been Blaney's playground as of late for the most part, I'm going to say Joey Logano wins here. I think, again, him and Paul Wolfe, that combination, and now we're into the warmer weather. The tires should be greasier. And just, again, if they come out of the gate strong earlier in the year, then I expect that to continue at these tracks, especially because this is where Joey can maximize some of his stuff, not necessarily in a win in your in format, but definitely maximize where his skill set is specifically.
I've got a first time winner again with Todd Gilliland.
All right. So Blake I got 3 first time winners so far. Have I got that right?
Yes.
Well, not only are we going to have an interesting points season shakeup for the first time the chase has been back in 12 years, but if it goes your way, we're going to have a landmark season for NASCAR with 3 first time winners, which will be the first time in a long time we've had 3 first time winners.
I ain't done.
Oh, I'm sure. I can tell you got 4. I thought about it, but I think the consistency mattering is going to change a lot of this. So we'll find out. What do you say, Chris?
I think I got 2 more, if I remember right.
I'm actually just with his overall record at this track throughout the years. As much as I wanted to pick him for Daytona, that's who I got winning Talladega is BK.
Okay. Yep. That wouldn't surprise me. I mean, he's come up short several times
Who'd
now.
you have?
BK, Brad K.
Brad.
I thought you picked him at Daytona.
No, that was my backup if Hamlin doesn't. That's who I thought.
Pick. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I said something.
All right. Then we moved to Texas. And I'm going to say Ryan Blaney, unless he blows up. I think, lately Ryan Blaney's got this track pretty well figured out, even though Penske hasn't been strong on the mile and a half comparatively to their competition in JGR and HMS or 2311 for that matter. I think this is where Ryan Blaney gets his mile and a half win right there. And his first for me for this year.
Chris?
Man, I have 2 names written here because I struggle with this one.
Well, any, meeny, money, mo that shit. And
yeah, I went with Elliott, but dude, I had a hard time taking Elliott over Bell on this one.
Okay.
I don't really understand either of them, but
I don't either. That's why like you said, why I struggled so bad. But for whatever reason, this racetrack, those are the 2 names that stood out to me, man.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, Chase Elliott has run very well there lately. Even though he's not been the race winner, they've had consistent speed there.
I got Young Money.
Okay.
That'll be his 3rd win of the year for me.
My concern with Larson there is just that track in general. It's not a Larson concern so much as it is in terms of how quickly he steps over the edge, and with that track being so much like glass because of how the PJ ones affected it over the years.
Yeah,
I agree. He's either going to be really fast or he's going to step over and destroy the car. But it's not, obviously, it's a very well-founded pick. All right, we're at our second road race of the year, the Glen. And here I see no reason to change what I picked before. This will be SVG's second win of the year and continue to, maintain his threat to make the final 16.
I also picked him for here. He was unbeatable when they went there last year. I mean, I don't know. Maybe was it the 20 that was
Yeah, no.
maybe on a level on fresh tires, but on old tires they were just nobody could touch him. Now there is the chance of the horsepower changes things, and maybe they bring a different tire, whatever. But I'm going to SVG as well, and we already know Chris is. He already told us.
Yeah, this is our fastest road course. So if the horsepower is going to make a difference in how the tires are conserved, in terms of heat friction,
with the straightaways at Coronado, I mean, Coronado might be the fastest course.
True. I mean, we don't know how that's going to race. I'm just saying of the ones we have established, this is definitely our fastest road race. So of the traditional tracks we run, so we'll see how that plays out. But okay, I'm good with that.
I didn't pick an all-star because
same. It's Dover.
We don't know the format.
Yep.
Two, it's at Dover, and it's legit. Dover has always been a qualifying position track. I mean, so basically you pick who's somebody in the top three, and you're gonna have your winner. That's gonna be short. It's gonna be a short race, and there's not gonna be rubbered ups. They're gonna be around the bottom.
Yeah, and even though they're gonna have higher horsepower, if you're not running long enough to blacken the track, it's not really gonna matter to me. I agree with you. I didn't pick a Dover winner either because we just don't know. We don't know what the format's going to be or the selection process or any of that. So
I didn't. I know I don't. We don't know what the format is, but I went with Larson just with the simple fact of if they're going to give him the higher horsepower at that track with the way that he ran when he was in the 42.
Yep, that's true. He was the only person better than Harvick at Dover with the higher horsepower was Larson. That was it. He was the only one guy who could keep up.
That was my thought. That was my thought process because I wrote
Dover down on my list. He still has never won there. So,
well, Harvick's retired, so maybe now with higher horsepower he'll have a chance.
Well, Matt Kenseth beat him when he was in the 42. Jimmy Johnson jumped to restart.
Yep. Look, by faint fair. All right.
I know.
All right.
Coca-Cola.
So now, see, you picked Larson for the All-Star. And
none of them are in the field anymore, though, Blake.
I think Larson not having to focus on the double this year. It's all his eggs back in the right basket. He regroups and he spanks them at the 600.
I have the same feeling. I've got him at 600 as well.
And again,
across the board.
He's for me. That's his, I think, third win of the year. Well on his way to 10. Is what I'm expecting. 8 to 10 wins.
That's my fourth. That's my fourth win for him.
I forgot to mark what you guys picked down on the first fucking 10 races.
I got it for you. I'll send it to you later.
Okay.
So then we moved to Nashville, and if Trackhouse car is going to win on a mile and a half, I think it's going to be Mr. Chastain, and it's going to be
son of a bitch, dude.
Did you guys call each other before this?
No, I literally I did mine waiting for y'all to join the thing. That's how I knew who I wanted, but I didn't write them down till right before we began filming.
That's
I might have been streaming his house while I was driving back. We'll never know.
I'm different from you two. I've got the 19.
Okay, all right, you're going with Briscoe. You and I are with Chastain there, Chris.
Yeah. I don't think Briscoe's going to be bad there, though. I think that's a good pick too.
Yep. Okay.
I'm interested to see.
Yep.
I'm definitely interested to see how Briscoe is going to do with the higher horsepower. I think that's just an unknown for me. I know he did well this last year, but I don't know this. I had a hard time trying to piggyback with it. How well he did this last year. Just not knowing how this car is going to translate with him or for him with the high horsepower. That's what kept Briscoe out a lot of my choices.
Well, and I agree. I I paired it with my choice for picking Briscoe, and the ones I did pick him for was James Small, and how he and Truex worked when Truex was fully committed and they had the higher horsepower, and he and Truex were money on a lot of these tracks. Several dominant years. Should have been multi-time champion, truthfully, before he retired, but it just didn't work out that way. And then their success last year, because James Small has a driver that's dedicated, not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I do think Briscoe will remain fast, but we're gonna have to see if he gets a sophomore slump in his second year at JGR. Could happen.
Well, and it's like I said, and the other thing I did forget is, like you said, the exit of
Gabehart.
Gabehart, yeah, that one really throws a wrench in some of my thought process on stuff I've already written down here now.
I thought about it, but it didn't stop me from picking them. I'm being bullish on my picks, but I do think that's going to come to be very valuable toward the end of the year.
Yeah,
and how things go. I think you can start the beginning of the year, but as the cars continue to develop and the consistency, I think you'll see it's either going to be good, depending on who they put there, or you're going to see it all fall apart. All right, so that brings us to Michigan, the house that Ford built. Ford's been really strong there for a while. The Toyota's come there and taken their lunch money a couple times now. I went with Chris Buescher because of his performance there.
You looking at my house there. Now?
I've got all your houses tapped. All right, look. You didn't know that I put spyware in this video company.
Even though most of these I've written down while we were sitting here talking.
Yeah, Christopher Buescher is my guy.
Dale Jr. be so proud you said it his way.
His way, Christopher. Hailing from a farm, Christopher Buescher gets it done. So are we all on board with that then, it sounds like? All three of us?
No.
Well, let it go.
Who's it going to be
that's who you went with, was Buescher too? Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I went.
Never mind. Never mind. For me, just for the simple fact of what I know this race would mean to him, I had to go with BK on this just because he's a Michigan boy.
He was
and
a
he
very
still hasn't, and he's
an AB situation for me there.
I mean, and it's just seemed to be he either runs really good or he's out in the field. But I don't know. I got to keep going with him I like I said, you always got to see somebody. You'd love to see somebody win at their home track.
Yep, I was gonna say he's a Michigan boy, and he very much wants to win there. Yep. I would be thrilled for him if he does. He's not my pick, but I see that and solid pick.
That's why I went with that.
Okay. All right. We go from Michigan to Pocono, and honestly, Pocono is the house that Denny Hamlin built over his 20-year career now. And as he says, you can boo my fucking rock. There you go. Get your bell. Bing, bing. I think if he's in his right headspace, they're going to have to boo his rock some more because he's going to continue to elevate his presence there as one of his winningest tracks.
Man, I don't even think it's going to take the right headspace at that track for him.
That's true. He's spun and come back to win there in his rookie year. He's just all the right reasons. So
where you both have the 11.
Yep.
We got to stop spying
on seriously. I have the watermelon man.
All right. I mean, again,
I think it will be a strategy call, but I think he'll get it.
Okay. And that brings us to our third road race of the year, Coronado.
Naval Base Coronado.
Naval Base Coronado for Navy's birthday. I'm looking forward to this race for any number of reasons. A prior Navy veteran, it's probably going to be a one and done. And unlike Chicagoland, I just think Chicago street race, I think this is going to be a really good race because of the way San Diego's weather is perfect, even though I don't personally care for San Diego as a travel destination. The weather is perfect, low humidity, nice, good, solid base temps, sand, which is going to make the track slick, a lot paired with the heat. And so for that reason, this is the one time I did not pick SVG for a road course, but I do think a Red Bull car is going to win that race, and I think that's going to be Colin Zillich.
You motherfucker.
I think he gets his first win at a one-off track that nobody's been
Can I
to.
ring the bell now? Damn it!
Yeah.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding.
I picked him too. And I had the same exact reasonings.
Team Red Bull right there, baby. You're going to see a lot of Red Bull at these road tracks. I know that.
Who you got, Chris?
You're really gonna ask? I've
Oh,
already
yeah,
given you the answer at the beginning of the
Svig.
Oh,
Yeah.
I gave you a chance to, go
Swedish
along with
now.
that.
He's Svig. He's racing Svig. All
All
right.
right. No,
Well, the following week, we go to our fourth road race of the year, and I believe it is our last, if I'm looking at the schedule correctly. And that will be SVG's third win of the year. And with only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 races to go, I think with 3 wins and what I think he's going to do on the ovals, I think it's going to be enough to sneak him into the top 16 with his performance overall. But that's going to be his third win for me for the year for him.
Well, we already know Chris has him. I went with Kyle Larson because you all laughed at me last year with when we were talking about it in the fall with the Roval, and I was almost right. But with the added horsepower and how good Larson has always been here, I see him taking one from SVG.
Well, he's tasted the wine there
I'd like to see
before,
it.
so
He's done it twice.
Yep.
And the last one he did it in, SVG was in the field.
Yep. All right. And right after that, we go from road racing right back to drafting, and we're at Atlanta 2.
No, we're Chicago.
No.
Oh, sorry. Yep, you're right. Chicagoland. But it's not a street course. We're back to the real where Chicago's race rightfully belongs. And I believe that's where Larson gets yet another win. Slide job, slide job, slide job, baby.
All right, we need a different host because now this is just fucking ridiculous.
Well,
I think when we returned there and the last time we were there with slide job, I see no reason to think that Larson's not been waiting to do it again.
is that the last time we were there?
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
No.
No, that was the last race there.
No.
Sure.
Yes. I believe we raced there in 20, didn't we?
I don't think so. But you're probably right.
No, the last race was the Kyle and Kyle show.
Yeah, I thought that was like the. Let's see here, Chicagoland.
Because we didn't end up going to Chicago because of freaking COVID.
Yeah, 2019. Oh, you know what? Blake is right. It was slide job followed by Alex Bowman gets his first Cup career win.
No.
Well, that's what it says here. The last NASCAR Cup Series race in Chicago was held in 2019.
That was 2019. Okay, slide job was 18.
Yep, slide job was 18.
Bowman Larson finished second in both those events.
Yes, and Larson finished second to Kyle Busch and Alex Bowman.
I forgot about the COVID factor.
Yeah.
So
they ran at Darlington instead, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, they ran several of those tracks the COVID year differently based off of the different lockdowns. So
I just knew slide job wasn't. Slide job was not.
In my mind, slide job was the last one. That's how forgettable Bowman's win was to me.
So is that who you have, Chris?
Who? Yeah,
Larson?
I have Larson.
I have Tyler Reddick.
Dude, you know what? Yeah.
I can see that.
He had a slump last year, and that track races a lot like Homestead, a lot like Kansas. It could very well be Reddick, and that's why I chose him.
So I didn't pick Reddick to win at all this season, just so
I believe that's my only time.
And I did because of what happened to him last year. You know, his son Bo everything that was going on. It'll be interesting to see if he's faster now that he trimmed the mullet. But then that was the reason slowing him down. But really, I think kind of like Hamlin, he had a lot on his plate last year with his son having those major, health issues and being in the critical unit all that
They
time,
also said that the lawsuit actually affected those two teams.
and how the lawsuit impacted
Oh yeah, that's
11.
I
That being
I
said,
actually I did talk a little bit with Reddick in Vegas in October. It just, I mean, the fan interaction is with Reddick has always been good, and there was just something. I mean, you could tell. I mean, you could just tell. It was just off. Just in the garage in general around those teams was just off. It was. You could feel the stress. You could feel the tension. I mean, it just that had to suck all around that. And then on top of it, like you said, the stuff going on with Bo, that I don't. Yeah, that had to suck.
and so I'm curious. I do have a 2311 car winning this year, but it wasn't Reddick. It's going to be Bubba later. But I am curious to see.
Oh, it's not going to be. It's not going to be Rylan Herbst.
No, I think he's going to be looking for an employment application after this year, because we'll see what they do with Heim time. But that's a different discussion. But I just feel like 2311's going to take a while to rebuild all of their ducks in a row post exit of the lawsuit, and especially with Hamlin being so disconnected in his headspace over the winter time with everything he's had going on between the focus on the lawsuit and now the loss of his father. I mean, that basically puts all the competition stuff up. They've got people for that, but all the direction the team needs to Michael Jordan, and that's really not his area. So I mean, he's a cheerleader, don't get me wrong. He's led his teams that he was on the basketball court with, but that's not the same thing as kind of what these guys are going to need. So my only concern with 2311, just in general, coming into the 2026 season is, post lawsuit prior to his dad passing away, I would have thought they were going to come out swinging, because I was expecting Denny to be really engaged with an FU NASCAR, like we're coming to kick ass and take it. Especially after barely missing out on the championship last year due to the overtime. But now you add in the thing with his dad, and I don't know where 2311 is going to be for a while.
Yeah, this is
so it's hard to. I mean, again, they could have made all the right moves in the offseason, and hopefully leadership was able to step in, but I just don't get that feeling about them in general. But hopefully they prove me wrong, because I want them to succeed. I like seeing Bubba and Reddick up front. I like seeing other Toyotas, not just the big four from JGR. So with that, we move back to a drafting track, Atlanta 2, and I have Joey sweeping. He wins both Atlanta races.
I too have Joey Logano at this Atlanta race.
What say you, Christopher?
What say me? I actually kind of I liked when Blake brought it up earlier today, just for the simple fact of how fast that team has been. And I think I really don't know enough about him other than just kind of watching the way he carries himself. I think he could definitely become the leader that that they shouldn't have got rid of in Michael McDowell. But I took Gilliland on this one.
Okay. All right. So you think Front Row gets their redemption victory there, post lawsuit? Okay. I mean, I don't have them in my my list of winners for this year, but I would not be surprised to see any of those cars win, based off of they're coming out with their chests pounding, and we're about consistency now. It'll be Gregson's second year there. He was really fast early, and just some bad calls.
See that was the other one that I had a tough time doing. Is I think Gilliland is going to be the leader to take him there, just with the overall the overall tone that he already has with the team. But I think the one to really watch, and it was a toss up for me between those two, was Gilliland and Gregson. I really hope that Gregson is able to settle in here somewhere with one of these teams so that we can actually see what the kid can do, because I think he's friggin' talented. I just think he keeps getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah,
Of it, unfortunately,
there's no question he's fast.
I think is, yeah. I think some of it is he brings on himself, but I think he's got the potential to definitely do something good.
I look at Gregson in the same way that I look at Hocevar. There's a lot of speed, some good car control there. Obviously, with all the wins he had at JRM, we know he knows good racecraft, because you don't get to that Final Four several times and score the number of wins he did, both with strategy and with driving skill. Otherwise, I just think it's self-induced mistakes with Gregson last year, trying to prove so, especially after the bad year SHR had overall in this final year with them, trying to get everything straight, especially since his other SHR teammates went to A-list teams and won all of them. Harvick retired. Briscoe went to JGR and won a bunch, and Priest was on the verge of winning, and Barry won. So I do expect Gregson to show us what he's got. If he can just, with the consistency mattering more, I think it's more back towards, it'll favor him. I'm hoping.
He is one that I think we've touched on it. Not to get us off track, but he is one that I'm afraid we are going to lose in this sport. That could be a great, not only talent, but personality for the sport. If we don't lose him because of the lack of performance and the teams and sponsors just give up on him, I think, we've seen it happen to people in the past, but I think the sport will definitely take a hit if we lose somebody like him.
Corey LaJoy's still around. He's fine.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. He's a Tim Richmond style personality. He does things that draw fan interaction, similar to Hocevar, and we need him to succeed, because we need big personalities like that are not afraid to say dumb shit that's going to get your attention. And ultimately, with Mark's advocation of the standard points being able to build you superstars in the week to week, I think this is a golden opportunity for drivers like him and Hocevar to turn them into superstars if they can produce the results to go with it.
I think my thing is, where I think we ended up with so many superstars in the past, this is my opinion, and why I think Mark wants to get back to the way the seasons used to be, is you give these kids an opportunity to work on that racecraft without the pressure. You're always going to have pressure because you're in the highest series, the highest class that we have as far as stock car racing in the United States. But when you take that win and you're in pressure off of every single race, they'll go in and they're still going to be fast. They're still going to make some of those same moves, but they may not make the same move at the wrong time.
Right. Okay. So we got all, Blake, did we get all everybody's picks? Because we did go on a tangent.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
22,
Sorry, guys.
34.
No, we're good. We both opened that door. All right.
Yeah.
So now North Wilkesboro gets a full season points race. This one to me was probably the hardest one to pick a race winner for, because of what we've seen with the performance there and everything else. I wanted to pick Kyle Larson very badly, but I didn't. I picked Chase Elliott because of how the Clash unfolded last year, and it's got tight turns similar to Bowman Gray, the way Wilkesboro is now. So
he hasn't ran good there at all, though.
I just have a feeling, with it being it's painted like an old school track, and now we're going to have an old school long distance race there, and I just think this is going to suit him there.
Well, it's 50 laps longer than any races they've ever run there, right?
I think that's right.
It used to be a High Farm 400, correct, Chris?
Shit, I don't remember. Honestly, I should know this, but
Who you got?
Me
Yeah.
with
Or
the pairing.
who
Go
did he
ahead.
just pick?
He just picked. He just picked
Oh,
Elliott.
Chase.
Yeah, I picked Chase. This is Chase Elliott's first win of the year.
I went with the pairing that I talked about earlier, and I think with this style of racetrack and a crew chief in Paul Wolf, I think he's gonna be really hard victory lane.
Okay.
Yeah, it used to be 400 laps. Now it's 450.
Okay. So you're going with Joey Logano. All right.
Yep.
All right.
As much as I wanted,
Logano.
like you, I wanted to go with Larson on that, but I don't know. I just something just says Joey Logano and Paul Wolf on this one.
So we got
I mean,
Larson.
I want to go with Larson on almost every race except for drafting tracks, but I went with Christopher Bell. It's a flat track essentially. He basically he's basically stunk up the show last year, just like Logano did the year before.
Yeah.
I just Bell is just good where he's good, and I feel like that it's going to be the Bell race.
Okay. All right. That brings us to Indianapolis. And I think Bubba goes back to back. I think Bubba wins his second consecutive Brickyard 400. I have no basis for that other than how good they were last year. And I just think, last year he got robbed kind of the celebration of what an awesome milestone that was for his career, just in general, with all the ups and downs, new skate, the way his fandom has gone up and down based on how polarizing with, the right hooking of Larson, some of the comments he's made in the past about being like the black driver and things like that. I just feel like Bubba, with that win last year, more than any other performance-based thing, that was his coming out. Like, all right, I am, because he won Kansas, and that's a big deal. And he's performed at Daytona in the past, and he's won drafting races. But to win Indianapolis takes the total package. And to me, if you can do that once, you're now in the conversation to do it all again because you've figured out how to do it. And I think he's going to get a second one in a row.
And the way they did it was epic as well.
Yes, absolutely. So that's my pick for Indy. What say you,
Christopher? Go ahead.
As much as I think I would say I would love to see him end his career without one, I think it'll be Hamlin.
I mean, he's definitely a sentimental pick. Never done it, and
and I'm not looking at it from a sentimental point of view. I just think if this is going to be the one race that he shows up with his head in the fucking game, with how many times he's lost this race, it's going to be hard to take it away.
Yep.
I too have Hamlin, but I say it with an asterisk. It'll be his final NASCAR Cup win.
So on that subject, real quick, if you'd asked me last year, I would have said that's not possible that Hamlin will, when he hit 60 and all the things he had going in his way, I was like, I could see him winning 10 more easily. I could see him getting to 70. And obviously, with everything that's happened, I don't believe that anymore. I think I agree with you. If whatever wins he gets this year, probably his last. And I do think it's only going to be a handful, 2 or 3. Before, everything changed over the winter. Before that, he was a 4 to 6 year win machine with Gabehart and then Chris Gale. And I saw no reason that train was going to stop based on how well he's done. But I can definitely see like that switch flipping and that being it. So
something we forgot to mention in the last 3 races. I apologize. I've got to backtrack. I know it's not really a big deal to most. It is to me. I think it's neat and it's something that we need in the sport. But Chicagoland, Atlanta, and North Wilkesboro are all Sunday night races in the middle of the summer. I think that is
hot and under the lights.
Yes, I think that is what this sports needs. Every other sport I know we don't like talking about what other sports do, but they have a prime time thing on Sunday night that everybody watches. I think that this is going to be like something that puts them over the top, being on night at night. Just wanted to kind of backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I'm
this is
glad. I
actually
agree because
something.
we've gotten away from Sunday night races overall, and I always liked the hot night races under the lights. So
My big thing is I've actually put some thought into this, and I'm glad you brought it up because I'd kind of forgot about my thought process on this. But I agree. We need to go back to the night races, but why, for travel purposes, why are you making them Sunday night?
Sunday nights do
That makes
better.
it so hard for people, especially
Plan vacation.
as far as do what?
he
If
says plan vacation. I'm okay with that,
that-
but I would prefer that if for our Sunday night races you pair them with major holiday weekends, Memorial Day, 4th of July, those kind of things, so that you do give people an extended weekend to allow for the travel. And in the event it gets rained out, you got the ability to stay and watch the next day.
Yeah.
We got to remember
No,
we're in the TV mode, the TV generation of NASCAR. So like, yes, we want to worry about the person in the stands, but at the end of the day, ratings is what pays for the sport, and the ratings are going to be there on a Sunday night better than a Saturday night.
So obviously
Saturday night, date night, et cetera, et
Yeah.
cetera.
Obviously this is yet to be
This-
seen, but I don't know where you're going. I'll give you the mic here in a second, Chris. I will say the traditionalism feel. If NASCAR follows through with let's go back to our roots. Well, we had a lot of good Sunday night races in the summertime, and we didn't care what the TV numbers were. The TV numbers were just a bonus during that period, back in basically from the time we got the Winston era going forward until the mid 2000s. Where they started to shift back the other direction. So I'm hoping with that shift in thought process that Mark Martin has heavily, along with Kenny Wallace and some others, heavily steered the ship towards. We need to go back.
Do I even need to be here?
Because I stole all your notes. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. I was just going to say this is the conversation where I wish we had Mark Martin sitting here saying we need to put the stands back in the seats and quit worrying about the audience you're trying to draw with the TV, because it's proved time and time again you might get the ratings, but we're still not getting the ultimate fan base out of what they're trying to do with the TV shit.
One of the things. So I've been listening to Mark Martin's podcast he's got with Kenny Wallace now. And I listened to what he had when he did the 10 race chase deal before. And I know we keep getting on tangents, everybody, so we apologize. But as we get to these races and we talk about how the schedule is going to unfold in the points chase, it's important to talk about this stuff, because to me, if you're truly emphasizing a return to your roots, well, the sport wasn't built off TV. Yes, it had critical moments that TV brought it to a national stage, but when the sport was running at its best, TV was not their number one concern. And you couldn't get a ticket to these races. And if we go back to a more traditional feel and the races are so good, you won't have to worry about people wanting to tune in to watch them anyway, because you're not going to be able to get a fucking ticket to the thing to begin with. And there's another bell. Ding, ding.
But that forces people to then watch. You're not only filling the seats, but you're padding the ratings.
I agreed. I mean, I think that by going back to the roots, you draw the more traditional fan back in, who will then tell their friends, like, hey man, you need to come. Like my wife, we got married 20 years ago, last August. Her first race, Bristol night race. Why? Because it was a spectacle to behold in 2005. Like when you walked into that coliseum of race cars that had over 900 horsepower, and were spinning the hell out of the tires, and you could feel.
Junior win that?
Matt Kenseth won mine.
Okay.
Fucking yellow bees. Damn yellow jackets and their whatever. But I mean, you could feel the electricity when you would go into places like that. And we need to get back to that. And the only way you get back to that, and again, it became must-see TV. Helmets being thrown like Tony, Carl and Kyle Busch turning each other post-race. All that stuff happened because you couldn't get a ticket. You didn't need the TV to do anything. The fans at the stands and the product on track did the talking, and it got everything else you needed to get done. So I'm hoping we can get back to that with these night races and the return to traditionalism. I mean, they need to stick with it. That's the thing. If it doesn't work, they need to not abandon it at the first sign it didn't work. You've got to give it time.
I know we don't have the eyes as far as a podcast is concerned, but somebody, even if it's us, needs to put together a show of how many personalities, Carl Edwards, Tony Stewart, how many personalities has this sport run out?
Yeah.
That we've lost just because of the shit that we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Well, the fact that Tony Stewart is coming back to run a truck race.
It's sad.
To run a truck race at that speaks to the change in mentality
I think it's huge.
of the NASCAR brass and the release of some of the NASCAR brass and the change of direction. Because if you told me Tony Stewart was coming back to NASCAR to do anything, I would have told you that's not fucking happening ever again, based on how pissed he was when he left. Face. So I'm like, yeah, he's done. Like he loved NASCAR, but
based on how pissed he was when he was here.
Right.
What do you mean when he left? He was pissed when he was here.
Definitely. So, all right, let's move back to our schedule discussion. So we're back at Iowa, racing in the corn, and I think Lord Byron notches a win in Iowa again. Who do y'all got?
You need to go potty. I'm gonna let the dog out. I'll be right back, guys. I can still hear you though.
Well, tell us your pick first. Or don't.
He's gonna leave us in suspense.
You do the pick. Come on.
I'm going with Ryan Blaney.
You're gonna go with Ryan Blaney for Iowa. Okay.
I just think that it's just kind of suits him. I mean, I'm pretty sure if I remember right, he was running with Byron last year.
He was.
And he won the year before, which I think the year before Larson should have won, but he decided to get in a wreck that he shouldn't have got into.
I wanted to pick Austin Dillon, but he let me down based off of his Richmond performance. Now he did come back and win Richmond, but like I was like, if he ran so well at Richmond the year prior, I expected to come in and dominate Iowa, and that didn't happen, surprisingly. So
it's just fun. It's as far as that, I'm just going based off the iRacing game NASCAR 25. They race totally different. There's such a different feel to Iowa than Richmond.
Yeah,
it makes perfect sense.
Okay. Who's your Iowa guy there, Chris?
My Iowa guy. I don't know why, but I think with some of the changes that they are looking to put into effect, and hopefully they're right, because I went with Eric Jones on this one.
Oh wow!
I really I'm expecting big things from Legacy. I debated on whether or not they were going to win races and whether or not they're going to make the final 16, which we'll get to that shortly. But like, if somebody's going to do it.
Trust me, when it comes,
sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you look at it from my point of view, this is where I struggled. Why Iowa stuck out for me for Eric Jones, I have no idea. Because if you really want to go to it or go back to it and say that he's going to win anywhere, you'd have to fucking say Darlington.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
I mean,
if he's going to win, Darlington's going to be it, or Daytona.
But I don't know. It just, for whatever reason, I think with some of the changes they had going, I did through the whole thought process. I just think there's too many guys that are too strong at Darlington now. And it's just something for this one said Eric Jones for me. I know they're making a lot of changes to that organization, and I'm hoping that it turns out for the better for this kid, because I think he's another one. Didn't necessarily have the personality we were talking about that we may lose out of the sport, but I think he is a talent that we may lose out of this sport without seeing his actual potential.
Yeah, I agree there. All right, that brings us to Richmond. They look similar. Obviously, they don't race the same. But based off the last handful of years, I think it's Austin Dillon's track at this point. I mean, the RCR's got something there. And I think you're going to have to come take it from them.
I also chose him. There's no way around it. There's nobody that's getting around that track better than him right now. And it doesn't make sense if you go by the rest of the season. but they have figured out a setup, at least for him, that is just lightning fast, works, and nobody can catch him.
Yep, that low line he's got with that drive off and the way he arcs that corner is just so different.
He rolls the corner better than anybody in the sport right now. I just until somebody can show me different, I'm going to pick him every year until he loses.
Yeah. I think the
Yeah, I
rest of
might
the
still
field
pick
is
him up
lucky he
tonight.
only has one race there this year now that, Richmond only has one date because honestly, I think he'd be sweeping it for a while. Just he's got it figured out there.
We'll figure something out. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. What do you got, Chris?
See, and I'm still at RCR, but I struggled with this one, but I actually went with Kyle, and hoping that
Kyle gets his
RCR
first
finally
one in
shows up
3
with.
years.
All right.
Yep.
I like that pick. I think Kyle Busch. So I think a return to not a win in your end, but a return to a more standardized points format benefits Kyle Busch. I think it gives him the ability to take a step back from what he's been doing, which is trying to push those RCR cars further than they could go to get the win, and allows him to build the consistency that will help him make the chase. I'm not sure that he wins this season, but I do like the way the points format suits the way he likes to race. And that's not in every situation has to be a clutch situation. And that gives him the opportunity, I think, to get back to what made Kyle Busch Kyle Busch. So
I think if he were at Hendrick, it's hard to say. I mean, unfortunately, I think these cars lack what he needs to be the dominant driver he was. Just this car, I think we saw the impacts of it with Johnson. We've seen the impacts of it with Harvick. I think we're seeing the impacts of it with Kyle Busch.
We saw it with Truex.
You saw it with Truex as well. I think that organization has something figured out there that I'm hoping at this point or this time he can. I mean, I think it's going to be hard for him to beat his teammate, but I'm hoping that this is the time where Kyle shows up. But I'm thinking along the same lines you said with the full season points being back in effect, even though we do have a chase, but the full season points being back into effect. I'm hoping this gives him an opportunity to become a little more comfortable and maybe more confident in these cars. Just like you said, not having to have the winning your in factor constantly take over the thought process and trying to overdrive the car and be able to slowly find speed by getting the finishes they fucking deserve instead of basically like Kyle Larson
I sentimentally want to pick Kyle Busch for several races for the reasons we're talking about, because during the original Chase era, he was one of the most dominant drivers leading into them every year. And in them, though not capturing the final prize and losing out towards the later part of the year to Jimmy Johnson due to, missteps and parts failures and stuff. Like, they blew so many motors, it was unbelievable. Like, they'd be so dominant and then fall apart. But as far as not just winning, but consistency during the Chase era, Kyle Busch was one of the top 3 drivers every year. And if you can get him back into a format like that, I think he can get his way back there again. So with that we get to the House of Lobsters in New Hampshire, and I think Christopher Bell wins there.
New Hampshire.
That son of a bitch.
Yeah. I would love to say Denny, but he hates lobsters, so I'm going with his teammate Christopher Bell.
I'm assuming that's a Christopher Bell for you too, Chris.
Yep, this is where I had Bell coming in.
I have Ryan Blaney because what I was going to say is it's when you get to a flat track, it's one of 2 guys, Blaney, Bell. If it's somebody else, it's good for them and they hit on something, but usually it's Bell or Blaney. So I went with Blaney.
All right. Well, that brings us to our final race of the regular season, which is going to give somebody a 25-point head start when the chase kicks off. And he has won at this track several times in the clutch towards the end of the year. And even though it's not a win you're in situation that gets him into the chase, I think Austin Dillon wins the Fall Daytona. He's won there several times.
Who's he reckon to get the win?
Anybody gets in his way.
No, Eric, I'm alone.
If you're in
Not
front
all
of him,
we're
you're
rolling.
along for the ride. But I just think
I,
he's been really good there in the fall, and he hate him or not, he's a hell of a plate racer there in the fall. So
I gotta look for cameras in here. Hold on. I did not pick that Austin. I picked Austin Cindric to win Daytona.
okay. What about you there, Chris?
I actually went with Blaney on this one.
Okay. All right. I mean, Blaney's been money there in the fall too.
Yeah, it's
and if
I
Cindric
just
wins,
haven't
it's
been-
going to be because he takes it from Blaney. So I think we all got some interesting ways we get there. All right. So now we're going to move on to the final 10 races. And now we're in the chase. And I think this is where only your chase drivers are going to win. I think at this point, the cream has risen to the top. I mentioned that, but one, now we don't have any road courses. So this is all ovals. And they're all some of our most technical, skill required ovals. And with that, I think those top 7 style drivers that I mentioned before, based off of the way their teams perform and their driving style is, I think those are the only guys you're going to see win going forward. So our first race, we open with Darlington, and I think Chase Briscoe goes 3 for 3 in fall Darlington races.
Christopher?
For me, I went with Larson on this one.
Okay.
I just think once it
I
comes
almost
to
picked him, but
yeah, I think I went a lot like Blake kind of talked about. I am Larson heavy when it comes to the chase, just because I think they are going to be the team to beat.
I've got him winning 4 races. Just Darlington wasn't one of them.
So I was about to say that. So Kyle Larson is my pick, and I'm going to have him doing a Jimmy Johnson, Tony Stewart-esque deal, and it's actually a Larson-esque deal because he did it as well. He's going to win 5 races in the
Beat him into
chase.
submission. Yep. Okay.
Ugh.
All right. That brings us to Gateway. And while it's been typically not HMS's best track, the way they performed last year, now I think Larson says, okay, now it's mine. This is going to be title number 3, and this is where he asserts his fist in the air and says, I'm coming for this third one. You thought maybe I shouldn't have won last year due to all the things that happened. This is for sure legitimately my championship, and it will be title number 3, and it starts right here in the chase for Larson at Gateway.
I got to Chase Briscoe.
All right, so we flipped. All right.
Yep.
What about you, Chris?
I actually went with Blaney on this one.
Okay.
I think Blaney's going to be strong. I think he'll finish the end of the regular season strong with that Daytona win, and I think that some of that, if it's going to be somebody that's going to knock Larson off, he's going to have to beat Blaney to do it.
Okay. Well, that brings us to fall Bristol. Hot night, greasy. This one was a toss-up for me. Again, yep. It really is going to come down to how the tire performs. And this one was hard to pick.
Be there.
Yeah. I went with Hamlin for this one because I just think the tire is going to swing the other direction, where kind of like it did before, where Larson hated the tire and Hamlin loved it. If it gets very like marbly and not the way it should and gummy, I think it falls into Hamlin's lap. But I could easily see Larson winning it if the tire goes the other direction.
Alan, I told you his last win will be the Brickyard.
All right. I said he could have his last win this season. I didn't say that was going to be it for me.
I'm going with Ty Gibbs for his second career win.
Wow. Okay, so you think this is going to be Ty Gibbs' breakout year? All right.
Yes.
All right.
So he'll win at Coda, and then he'll win at Bristol.
All right. What about you there, Chris?
I got Larson. I just don't see when it comes to the chase, I don't see how we can go against him.
You do have a very good percentage of him winning when you're in attendance, so I hope you're right.
Tell
him I'm wrong. You can't.
Yeah. And then we bring ourselves to Kansas, our next mile and a half and second one in the chase. And while I think Larson's going to be close, I think this is where Blaney puts his hat in the ring for the championship. Is it Kansas? Again, if they don't blow up an engine, I think he'll be in consideration for it. So.
Go ahead, Chris.
This one for me is where I hope if they are able to make the chase, I'm at least hoping that this is kind of a bright spot at the end of their season by making it in on points and hoping that the lawsuit wasn't too much of a distraction and just kind of like Blake brought up earlier with the lack of potential lack of leadership depending on Denny's headspace. I have Reddick at this one.
Okay.
So I went 23-11 with both Kansas races.
All right.
So I've got Larson winning back to back, Kansas, Vegas.
Okay.
Just hard to say he can't because it's two of his best damn tracks. And like we said earlier, Las Vegas is just his forte, and Kansas is also, he's won the last two spring races there. There's no reason he can't win a fall race. He's won a fall race before. I see him winning Kansas.
All right. Well, you said you have Larson winning Vegas. I also have Larson winning Vegas. So that's going to be his second sweep of the year on top of that for me. And I think he gets, yeah. So I think that brings him one step closer to title number 3. He'll win at Vegas. And that'll be his second win in the chase. What say you, Chris?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I went with Larson as well, but I think if you guys aren't correct with Kansas, I am going back to back with Larson at Charlotte and Vegas and Charlotte.
That's where I have
Larson
going back to
both
back.
Vegas and both Charlotte races.
I was throwing little skittles there. I actually have him winning 3 in a row, just like he did in 21.
Yeah, I figured that's what you were getting to.
Yeah. So I've got him winning Kansas, Vegas, Charlotte 3 in a row.
I have him winning Charlotte as well. Again, that'll be his second sweep of the season right there. He's gonna have to start his own broom company.
And I'm sure people that watch us, our fan base, that are probably thinking all these guys do is brag on Larson. I am a huge Larson fan, but I mean, I've only picked him to win 10 races. So, we're not just saying it because we're fans. We're saying it because their stats show it and the drive shows it. So show us something different,
Yep, I've picked him purely based on stats at these tracks, especially in the configurations they're in, and how his first championship year went, how he has done ever since, and how he did in his prior when he was in lesser equipment. I see no reason not to. I think that would be a 3 race in a row win parlay would not be a bad bet to put down in Vegas on the books during the chase for him. And honestly, I think if he does win at Charlotte, making it 3 for 3, not that things can't happen in the next 4 races, but I think that's the chokehold that kills the rest of the competition right there, kind of like Jimmy Johnson did to the rest of the field several times.
Now,
beats him
a little precursor. I feel like he's going to have these wins. He's got 4 wins going to this point in Charlotte. But, all these races, Blaney is not far behind. We're talking second, third, or 4th, possibly 5th. And I think that he's going to be on his tail even with the wins. Larson can't really fumble too much because of how close Blaney. I think Blaney and Larson throughout the season are going to just be throwing blows back and forth.
Yep. To that point, we'll get to each one in our picks, but I actually have Blaney going 3 for 3 right after Larson's 3 for 3. I think Blaney will win Phoenix, Dega, and Martinsville to gain ground on Larson's ground. What do you say for Phoenix, gentlemen?
I've got Carson Hocevar winning his first race
Okay.
I picked him last year to win his first race here. He still, if you all remember, he still ran good in the fall last year. He didn't run good in the spring. He ran good in the fall 2 years in a row. Hopefully by fall Phoenix, he will have almost a year under his belt of a different style format, and maybe like what you were talking about earlier with star power and learning how to be patient. Maybe he goes out and wins fall Phoenix. So I've got Carson Hocevar, my fourth and final first time winner.
All right. What about you, Chris?
Phoenix, unfortunately, for whatever reason,
Byron.
the fall rate, yeah, it screams Byron for me. As much as I did not want it to, that fall race for Phoenix, dude, I have both. I have Blaney and Byron written next to each other because that was such a toss up. But Byron topped that one.
Okay.
I had a few of those picks where I had two people written down there.
So we already know Allen's got the 12,
Blaney,
Phoenix, Talladega, and Martinsville.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
What do you got, Chris? For
Talladega, I went with his teammate.
The two?
Logano.
Okay.
No.
All right.
So I've got.
I mean, the two's got potential, but I don't know. Yeah.
So I kind of.
Well, his dad did get his job back at Penske, so maybe he'll race better.
Yeah. I kind of prefaced it earlier, but with Blaney being close, Allen was real close to what I did. I've got him winning Talladega and Martinsville back to back. It's very doable. I think he's done it before, and he's badass at both those tracks. And I think, obviously, Larson has bad luck at Dega. That could bring them real close in points, and lead them into Homestead. But I've got Blaney and Talladega and Martinsville. Who do you have at Martinsville, Chris?
Mine with Martinsville, again, this one I had two names written down. Again, Blaney was one of those. But when it comes to the win, I think for me, this will be Hamlin's last win.
Okay.
In his home state.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that brings us to our finale race. Homestead.
I think Blaney will be there, but yeah, I had to go with Hamlin on that one.
My Homestead pick, I had three folks that are going to be in contention for that championship. And they're Larson, Bell, and Blaney. And if you've listened to our picks, you can see why, because they are going to be hard to beat based off of, I go back and I look at the amount of points they capitalized on year after year after year, and the number of wins they've all gotten in those years. Regardless of the chase format, they're just points monsters. Byron, I want to put him in that conversation, but he's not as good at Homestead, and they tend to fall apart in the fall. That's, they haven't shown me yet that they can maintain that performance through the fall. Where these
you just had to win 3 races in a row.
No, Byron. I did not, sir. I had Blaney.
Oh,
I did not give Byron 3 races.
I thought you were talking about Blaney. I thought you were
now look,
talking about Blaney.
Byron could win 3 races in a row, but he's going to need
I thought you
he
said
had for
Blaney.
the last
That's
2
why.
Daytona 500s, because he has yet to be the best car at the Daytona 500.
I thought you said Blaney. That's why I got confused.
Oh, okay. No.
My bad.
So yeah. So any 3 of those, I think it's going to come down to points margin entering the final race and where they stand as to who comes out of Homestead on top, and also who comes away with the championship. I'm leaning very much towards Larson, but I can see Bell and Blaney in that picture, and I think it's going to be damn close. I think we're going to have a hell of a chase. So I have Larson as my champ, and he gets it done. He wraps it up at Homestead, but he's going.
He wins it. He wins the race.
He wins the race, the championship, puts the nail in the coffin for him all at the chase, but it's going to be damn hard. He's going to have to fight off Blaney and Bell to do it.
Christopher.
Yep.
Larson.
For me, I think what Alan says makes a very valid point, but I am loving the situation, even though I would love it even more if this were we had the old format. I would love to see how this panned out. But even for me, without this being a one and done for the championship at the end, I think it is going to be amazing to finally see Larson get to go take that fucking championship from everybody at Homestead.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's why I have him picked. As coming out on top. He's going to go in there, and it's not going to be winner take all necessarily. It's going to be may the best man win of how close they're going to be, and I think they're going to be close. Especially if they all come in and start and get seated in the chase within the top 5, it's going to be cutthroat all the way to the end. You're not going to have room for mistakes.
I think because of a misfortune at Talladega, and because of that, he'll have a point lead going in, and he'll have a point lead basically throughout the entire chase. But I think going into Homestead, he'll have like a 25-point lead.
Yep.
And he'll have to just, because of that, possibly Cliff reins him in and just tells him to be careful, whatever. But Kyle doesn't do that. So
no, definitely not.
So, but
Okay.
I think he wins the title by 45 points.
All right. So Larson is my champion. Larson's your champion. Larson's yours, Chris?
Yep.
All right. So I think it's going to be a hell of a season based off the people we picked. We weren't right very much last year in our prediction.
No,
but
at
all
all.
right, somebody was. I was not. I was all over the fucking board.
I got Briscoe right. I got Bubba. I didn't get some of the tracks. I didn't get right, but I got the people winning that you all didn't pick.
All right, that's true. I had
Yeah.
plenty of wins by the people that I picked.
Yeah.
They were not where I expected them to win. Like the luck factor was insane last year for the way it went. And I didn't have Hamlin winning 6 races. I didn't have him coming out there and doing what he did, which was truly impressive and notching number 60 in the fashion that he did.
And I remember after our Kansas show, we're sitting there watching Larson dominate, and we're like, he's going to win 7 more races, and he didn't win another damn race, but he still won the championship.
Yep, I really thought he was about to turn it on like 2021. I'm like, Jesus Christ, here we go again. But I think now that we're going to the chase, and I think that's bad news for everybody else because I think it suits him and the team very well going back to a consistency, and he's fast and consistent, and it's less chaotic. I think that can only help them. As far as Penske getting another championship, I think Blaney's going to be their guy based off his, coming out of the shadow of Joey Logano party the last couple of years. I don't know if Joey Logano ever gets a 4th championship at this point, just because not because of driver skill, team performance. I mean, he and Paul have got to change the way they do business, and Penske as a whole has to elevate their group because Blaney has been by far and away the fastest car every week out of that camp.
Yeah, I don't think Logano winning a 4th is out of the realm, but yeah, I need to see the performance come back. I'll never count out Logano or Paul Wolf, especially as a pairing, but that performance has got to show back up before I can put them back on that.
I don't see them the threat stage the way they were before. Well, I'll say that, not that they aren't a hell of a combination, but I don't see them being able to manipulate their way in through the way they have the last 3 times, maximizing that format and the weaknesses that format showed, where especially most blatantly on the 3rd championship for him, where, he did end up winning the most and we all did defend him. But it also showed the major flaws, just like last year with Brandon Jones, just how bad the flaws were in that format. So for them to come back up there and get a 4th one, you're going to have to see Joey Logano of 2020, 2019, 2018, where he was up there, the guy that wrecked Matt Kenseth or, was on his ass in Kansas. That's the Joey Logano you're going to have to see, or the one from Auto Club that, put Hamlin on the wall. If you don't see that Joey Logano doesn't win a 4th championship again. But, another time.
I got 2 last things. So not only did we 3 pick Larson to win the championship, but our buddy Brad from previous shows, he is a Ford fan, Penske fan all the way. He also had Larson win the championship above Ryan Blaney. I'll say that. And then the last thing I have is hold on, it brain farted on me. It's gone. It's gone. Oh, so the top three is going to be Larson, Blaney, and Bell. That shows throughout our entire thing, I believe. My honorable mentions are Ty Gibbs is going to be in the top 10 in points, in my opinion. And SVG is going to make the playoffs, or the chase, I mean. SVG is going to make the chase, even though it's not one you're in. He showed last year that he is good on ovals. He was getting better. He's going to get better this year. And I believe he will be in the top 16. He'll probably be about 12th in points.
So we went through our picks, and so here's my Champ 16. Even though I don't have two of these guys winning races, they are in there in my Champ 16 because of what I believe their potential is, either based on past experience or, I'm betting on future. So I have Bell, Hamlin, Larson, Blaney, Logano, Briscoe, Bubba, Reddick, Keselowski, Elliott, Byron, Chastain, Buescher, and SVG. All because they win. My surprises that are going to be in that list, Kyle Busch, like I talked about earlier, I think the return to a consistency format helps bring the old Kyle Busch of old back. I'm not sure he gets into victory lane this year, but I know he's going to sniff it. And if he does what I believe he can do, and I think he will handily make his way into the top 16, as long as he can keep the car from stepping over the edge. And I think Connor Zilic in his rookie year will make the chase. I think he's going to be ridiculously fast with, and I wouldn't normally take that level of speed from what was the Xfinity series, now going to be O'Reilly, to Cup. But I just look at what he's capable of doing in his first start in a truck, then what he did in the Xfinity cars, and then where he was on track to before he kind of overdrove it in his handful of debuts. I think he's going to put a hurting on him. Let's put it this way. It's actually good that there are no other rookies because they'd be fighting for scraps because I think he's going to put on a hell of a show as he, builds his skill set in this car.
Imagine never taking a lap and knowing you're the 2026 NASCAR Rookie of the Year.
I think he's going to show you why he would have been the Rookie of the Year either way. He may not win a race, I haven't won a race.
It gives me Kevin Conway vibes.
The extends car. He's going to extend his point lead over, just himself. So with that, we all picked a bunch of different winners. Who's your makes the top 16, but doesn't find victory lane kind of guy?
I didn't write a list.
For me, it was Kyle Busch.
You picked everybody. You picked is right in my book.
Like the only person I didn't
write out a list, but that's it.
There's a lot of honorable mentions that I can see getting in there in place of some of these other guys because we've seen it now in the past with the chase, and with the way the points are. Look at the hole Brad Keselowski was in last year. If you come out like they did, a win in the end and getting in is no longer a cure-all. Like you're pretty fucked for the year if you have 3 or 4 bad races consecutively in a row. In order to offset that, I think if you have 2 or 3 bad in a row and dig your hole early in the season, you're going to have to rip off 4 or 5 wins to recover because of the points gap you have to make up. Getting 1 point versus the winner getting 55, potentially 56. Slap like that's a massive hole.
And they buried themselves, not only the 3 bad races, but the penalty.
Yep. So
he was never going to come back from that. There was no recovering. But I think for me, the one that I would say that potentially would make the chase I can't remember if both of you guys had him in there winning. I think both of you did. For me, I didn't have him winning, but I think he's going to make it just on points alone, just with overall finishes. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in victory lane, but for me, it would be Priest.
Okay. Yeah, my guys are knocking on the outside of the chase that I had that I could easily slot into. There's 3 or 4 guys I could easily slot out and slot some other guys in. I can see Ryan Preece getting in. I can see Carson Hocevar getting in, just again based off speed, and if they can rein him in to get the finish that goes with the speed he's had. I see McDowell
get the consistency
getting in because of the speed. Again, McDowell's a threat to win on road races, and then on top of it, he's a threat to win plate races. And neither one of those guarantees you a spot, but that 15-point bonus for winning the race most certainly helps you make up for some bad luck and some slow cars. So those are just some of my guys that I could see. And Ty Gibbs, even though I don't think he will win this year because of the loss of Gabehart and stuff, he's been fast. They've just had some bad luck, or he's made some bad decisions. I could see him just slotting into any one of these spots too.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, had there not been a few people that won, would Gibbs have made the 16 last year?
Early,
he was awful damn close.
With about 5 to go, yeah, he was very close.
I mean, he was awful damn close. I just don't know. I don't have that printout in front of me or that list of where everybody ended up, but I know he was friggin' close. I think the only one that might have bumped him out because of the wins may have been SVG. That might have put him just outside making that top 16.
The majority of my championship 16 people get there based off of prior seasons of experience on how to suck up points. They're gonna get there through consistency, and that's what's gonna get you there. Along with the wins we've got them notched in for. And then the guys I don't have getting in there through consistency, but have enough wins or splashes to kind of make up for the difference, are not far behind and easily swappable. Go ahead.
This obviously last year's points were different.
Yeah,
the way you gain points for winning and stuff like that. Ty Gibbs would have made the chase last year.
Okay.
He was.
I thought he probably would have.
He was 16th in points after Daytona.
And winning your in has benefited other people.
Kyle Busch would have missed by 2 points.
Okay.
So going back to this format is really going to be good for some people that maybe we're stepping over, not just a Kyle Busch, for example, that steps over the line trying to push it. I think I can easily see the wins you're talking about for Ty Gibbs. I can see Kyle Busch getting back into victory lane depending on how the season unfolds. I can see, Zilich running really well, maybe getting a win. I have him on there, but even if he doesn't, I think he's going to be very, very good, just based off of what he did last year and just the straight beat down he put on the field. With 1 year in that car, mind you, and like a handful of starts. So if he can do that in an Xfinity car with his knowledge level, I mean, he's not going to come into the Cup race series and win. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but it's not likely. I think that'd be like a 1,000,000 to 1 bet. But I can see him coming in there and just scooping up points left and right, finishing top 10 and top 15 to death. Kind of like we talked about last week. I wish Corey LaJoie had a full-time ride, because I think this is where he shows his value again. He was
I think Spire
and gathering points on good days and minimizing loss on bad days. I think Corey would be a solid hire to put back in a car, especially now that winning you're in isn't the golden egg it was before, and neither are road courses for that matter. Go ahead.
I mean, I think this is where you brought up Michael McDowell has the potential, but I think to put himself there just with the possibility of the road course wins if something happens to SVG, the way he carries himself and the success that he's had on the plate tracks. But I think this is where Spire knocked their own dick in the dirt by getting rid of Corey.
Yeah,
especially with this coming back now. Look at where he had put that team, even with the win and you're in shit that they had. I mean, they were getting that much closer to the potential of making it even without a win.
I mean, he almost won Atlanta, got pinched in the wall, was close to winning Daytona. When Newman had.
But I'm talking about just the points finishes, not even without the win and in. I mean, they were getting to the point where
Oh no, they were
potentially make it in
consistently
on
a top,
points.
a back 20. They were a back 20, back teens finishing car, and they were threatening
Yeah.
to get in to the playoffs on points.
Yes.
We're in the top
Yep.
15 for a while. So I agree. So to me, so Spire is, of all the teams we've got to watch this year, in terms of who's going to make a positive step forward, I think Spire is the team to watch. Because if the rumor is true and they've nabbed Chris Gabehart from JGR, here's another Rodney Childers level brain. I hope they don't fuck this up, because you lost Rodney to JRM and you could have really taken some massive steps last year had you not, basically tried to squash whatever, engineering, brilliance that Rodney has. I hope they take Chris Gabehart's information to heart, because he brought JGR up a hell of a step to match back up with. They made up that ground essentially to HMS and to Penske big time over the last few years, where they had kind of fallen to the middle a little bit. So they're going to have a golden opportunity, and I hope that the drivers they got don't miss this opportunity. You've got this guy over here who's going to have you coming out of the gate with some really fast cars. Don't go tear him up, Carson, and they're going to be in a position, I talking about this now, I didn't take that into a factor when I was picking my race winners, but it does make me think that Carson Hocevar is going to be threatening to win some races this year if Gabehart does to the Spire cars what he's been able to do for JGR.
Yeah.
So
I haven't heard that rumor yet. So yeah, that's
the rumor. If you search for Chris Gabehart, that's been the rumor in the garage ever since his departure, was that he was going to Spire. And I don't know how much longer you can wait to announce it. I mean, Daytona's in a week and a half. Shit.
I thought he was with Spire.
Well, it's not been officially
I just think
announced.
it's strange that
because after they just announced he was leaving JGR, but they never said where he was going.
That's strange. Well, I mean, it makes sense if they're keeping it this quiet. I mean, they tried to hide, and it took forever to find out where fucking where Rodney was going.
Mm-hmm.
But on the same hand, I don't know. I don't think they use the right thought processes, and I don't know. I mean, I think it could be dangerous. But again, it's hard to say they're not going to screw it up, because it seems like they've got all the money in the world to throw at this damn team, but they have made absolute trash decisions when it comes to putting this team together to make it a winning team. I mean, they like I said, they keep knocking their own dick in the dirt.
And I don't know if he's still there or not, but when they founded Spire, and it was just Corey as driver one for Spire, and then they brought on second, they had Steve Letarte as a consultant on the side. So you have Steve Letarte, winning crew chief for HMS, playoff contender, championship crew member under Jimmy Johnson, crew chief for Dale Jr., got him in victory lane, multiple wins. Jeff Gordon, multiple wins, contending, and you didn't maximize on that. So I really hope whoever's running Spire, I hope they are changing their thought process, because I mean that'd be three big names with tons of success under their resume, that if you haven't let them guide the ship where it needs to go, you're doing something wrong. Because you've definitely had the right personalities in that building telling you what you need to do to win. And they know what they're talking about, because they've got rings on their fingers to show it. Either as crew members, crew chiefs, whatever. So that's all I got until we get to the Clash this Wednesday. We'll see if we have it. So I know you got to get up for work. I do too.
I don't have to get up for work, but I've been up since 3 o'clock in the morning. 2 o'clock, actually.
So with that, any final thoughts before we wrap up, gentlemen?
Again.
I do not have any.
I don't think.
All right.
I mean, I don't have any good thoughts.
Well, I guess we'll see. That was our magic 8 ball. We'll see how accurate it was, or if we should throw that bitch in the trash and we'll start over again next year.
Light a match like we've done the last 2 years.
Yep. We had a lot of right winners, not at the right tracks. So, but I think with the consistency, I said before, I think you're going to see some superstars made this year that have missed some opportunities just due to the format overshadowing, what they can do. And we're going to see some breakout years if Blake's, schedule comes to fruition with 4 first-time winners and some breakout years by some guys who not only going to be first-time win, but they're going to be multiple win. So with that, thank you for your time, gentlemen, and we'll talk after the Clash.
Yes, sir.
Assuming we have it and it doesn't get snowed out even further. Have a good night.